What's going on, Soul Nation? Ginger Prime here, and today we're talking about New World's upcoming PvP mode, War. This is the 50v50 PvP mode that is basically a reflection of Invasion, which we covered in our last video. If you guys aren't aware of what New World is, it's an upcoming MMORPG by Amazon Game Studios. It's action combat based. It honestly looks really interesting, and it's got a release date set currently at August the 25th. This has been delayed, pushed back from May, obviously due to global conditions. In this video, we're going to dive into War. We're going to talk about what it is, what they're going to do, what weapons the attackers are going to have, what weapons the defenders are going to have. Honestly, I think this is going to be a lot of fun, a lot of really good information. If you're new to New World, we're going to be talking about it as we go forward. But I do want to shout out, I do want to say, if you guys aren't doing this, you can follow New World's Twitter account, and on Wednesdays they're going to post something that you can kind of reply to, and they're giving away, or they're basically letting 10 people a week through this process into the alpha. They're inviting people into the private alpha, and you can also sign up on newworld.com to go and get selected for the alpha. There is a closed beta that is pre-order only, but this will be a way to get in without having to pre-order and more. But I wanted to put that out there in case you guys weren't aware, because who knows, maybe you'll get lucky and be able to come and play some New World. But let's go ahead and dive in to all that we know about the War mode. A tournament is a place of struggle. Not only have you to contend with the forces of corruption, but you also must protect yourself from other players. Claiming a territory is a good first step in establishing a foothold, providing security and resources for the days ahead. But it also puts you at greater risk when someone else wants what you have. When the legions of the corrupted attempt to take your fort, this is called a corrupted invasion. And we covered that in our last video. But when other players want to overthrow your territory for their faction, this is war.
This is Sparta!
Now, before we can wage war on another faction's territory, you must weaken it, and you must weaken that territory to a point where it is vulnerable enough to have war declared on it. In order to do this, you must perform the required amount of faction missions, and we covered that in a previous video. Again, links will be in the description for our playlist for New World if interested. Now, the Vanguard. When you go to war, you go on behalf of your faction. There are three factions: the Marauders, the Syndicate, and the Covenant. And they're locked in a constant struggle for control over Eternum. A faction is made up of companies that you have declared their loyalty to that faction, and when the required tasks have been completed to put that territory into a conflict state, there is a lottery to decide what company will lead the charge into battle. If your company has been selected as the Vanguard, the governor can select members of their company to fill the attacking ranks for a 50v50 war. If they have enough members in their company, they can fill the entire war party with just members from their company. However, if a smaller company is selected as the Vanguard, they can pick anyone from their faction or even pick volunteers from the third enemy faction to be involved in the war. So for example, if a company of the Syndicate has declared war on a territory owned by the Marauders, they end up not having enough warriors to fill their ranks, they can enlist the help from members of the Covenant. Now, if you would like to offer up your sword and volunteer for wars, you must travel to that territory where the war is to be fought and sign up in the war boards of the settlement or outside the fort. So you prepare for battle. Wars will take place in specific windows of time, and they are set by the defending company. Being able to set the time for war, it really kind of helps to make better coordination for the participants. This also removes the potential for offline raiding or wars taking place during inconvenient hours for the majority of members involved. If you have been selected to participate in a war, well, congratulations. You're about to experience a pinnacle PvP moment in New World. Once you have been selected to fight, make sure that you're logged in and you're ready, because when you're going to get that notification before the war begins, and when the time comes for battle, you're going to be automatically teleported from wherever you are in Eternum straight to the battlefield. The attacking enemy is going to attempt to breach the walls of the fort and capture its claim, thus taking ownership of the whole territory for their faction. Now, before any fort gates can be damaged or breached, the attackers must first capture 3 rally points in front of the fort. Now, once they're captured, they cannot be retaken by the defenders, and the front line is pushed ever closer. These rally points can be used by the team as respawn points or to access the armory. The defending team will use everything at their disposal to repel the invaders. So an extra layer of strategy and tactics are going to be introduced to the equation when you start building siege weapons and siege platforms. As an attacker, you can spend your battle tokens at the war camp's armory to acquire siege platforms and build them on the battlefield, similar to how you are required to use in invasions. You're going to gain additional battle tokens by contributing to the battle. The defending fort will be able to build siege weapons along with their walls and help fend off the attack. These siege weapons won't come at a cost to the defenders, but how powerful these siege weapons are will be detected by how they have been upgraded through the territory's progression system prior to the war. So if you want to protect your fort with the strongest siege weapons available, make sure that you're doing the required town projects back at your company's settlement. There are going to be multiple entries to the fort which the defenders are going to need to divide their attention and the siege weapons between. Defenders also have siege supplies which are auto-generated during war by siege supply generators. These resources can be used to repair structures including gates, armories, siege weapon generators, and the siege weapons themselves. Siege weapons and platforms are game changers. Now let's go ahead and dive into kind of the attacker's siege weapons and platforms. You have the cannon platform. This is a medium rate of fire and it's got the highest damage per hit. The cannon is most effective against structures and large, slow-moving targets. Several cannons focus their fire can quickly demolish any defensive structure. Then you have the fire launcher platform. The fire launcher launches a flaming projectile that bursts on impact and covers the area in fire. It is most effective against infantry and is a good way to counter ranged opponents. Shooting from the fort ramparts, it is also very effective at aerial denial and keeping opposition out of capture control points. Then you have the repeater platform. The repeater is a rapid fire turret that launches bolts at very high speeds. Individually, the bolts don't do a lot of damage, but sustained fire can quickly whittle infantry down. It's most effective against smaller and quicker targets that the other turrets have a hard time hitting. Now let's talk about the defender's weapons. You have the ballista. The ballista is the defender's version of the cannon and serves the same role as the anti-structure siege weapon. It has a medium rate of fire and very high damage per shot and is obviously most effective against structures and large, slower moving targets. Then you have the explosive cannon. The explosive cannon fires an explosive shot that disrupts and knocks enemies back. It's most effective against groups of infantry that provides an aerial denial, and like the rally points in the front of the fort. However, it's a low rate of fire, making it largely ineffective against fast-moving targets. You have the repeater turret. This is the defender's version of the repeater, and its functionality is the same as the attacker's. High rate of fire, low damage per shot, and most effective against smaller, quicker targets. Defenders also get something called a fire dropper. The fire dropper pours burning molten liquid down on anyone below, and it does high damage over time, making it most effective against group of enemies attacking the gate. Defenders also have the Horn of Resilience. This is going to provide you a temporary healing and defensive buff to all allies within the area. It has a lengthy cooldown, but it can turn the tide of battle when used at the right moment. Now, available to attackers and defenders, you've got something like traps. The Inferno Mine. When an enemy gets close enough, the Inferno Mine bursts and covers the area in fire. It is highly effective at area denial, and it is most effective when placed in choke points. Then you've seen this in the video and the footage, and in previous game footage. You have the Powder Keg. The powder keg does the highest damage of any siege weapon, making it extremely effective against gates. Its fuse must be lit manually, and it has a lengthy duration, and the powder keg won't detonate if it is destroyed early, requiring players to actively defend it. Now, once the war has come to its climactic end, players on both sides of the conflict will be teleported off the battlefield so that they can continue their adventures in Eternum. If you want to win honor and glory in the name of your faction, wars must be waged and the stakes couldn't be higher. It's winners take all. Should the attacking army prevail, they'll now control that territory and everything in it, planting a new flag in the name of their faction and pushing the front lines forward towards total dominance. Now, at the end of the day, all of this is subject to change. They're listening to the testers, as they test and retest and go into beta and go into the game. These things can change, but this is what they've laid out for war. as somebody who really enjoys PvP, am personally looking forward to seeing what they do with this. I also am excited from what we've learned of invasions. Invasions are the PvE element, that massive attack, that horde mode style gameplay. It seems like they're really kind of bringing and kind of connecting these things together. So maybe you're a more PvE focused player. Great, there's something for you. You like PvP? Great, there's something for you. Like I've said before, this is a game I've been following for just, since they announced it, been interested in it and continue to be interested in it. But all games, at the end of the day, it's all about, are the devs listening? Are they bringing more content? Is it worth my time to continue to invest in it? And the fact that there is some, controller support for it makes it really exciting to see. I have yet to get into the alpha, and I'm still waiting, just like everybody else, but I'm looking forward to hopefully getting some hands-on impressions to you as soon as possible. With all that being said, I'm always curious as to your thoughts and your opinion about this game, and any game really, but what are you interested in this? Are you interested in the PvP? Are you interested in war? What questions do you have about New World? Sound off in the comments below. I look forward to hearing this conversation from you. And with that, that's going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching. For Ginger Prime, my name's Brian. I hope you guys are having a great day. I hope you guys have a great weekend. And I hope to see you in my next video. If you feel like I've earned your subscription, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Come back for more action RPG videos. That's what we really like around here. I've got a couple other videos that are semi-action RPGs that I'm working on that will be rolling out later in the coming weeks. But I just want to sit down and give you guys this New World update. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you did, I hope you hit that like button, but no pressure to do so whatsoever. Anyway, like I said, for Ginger Prime, my name's Brian. Hope you guys have a great day. I hope to see you in my next video, but until then, take care.